Hi, I'm Daydam, and welcome to Mini Stories, the show where I make minis tell stories, make stories into minis, or just paint minis and tell stories. After the last couple videos where I took inspiration from the real world and even a solo RPG, I wanted to go back to writing some original projects. Unfortunately, I was feeling pretty burnt out, so coming up with ideas even based on concepts I've been thinking of lately proved more difficult than expected. So I decided it was time to take a step back and just look at my pile of shame. Sometimes we get stuck around one idea or another, and just going away for a bit and looking for a fun challenge or something that simply inspires us to do something entirely different can bring us back into the flow. We could say this time I'm making minis tell me stories instead of making stories into minis. While looking at my virtual pile of shame, I saw this awesome xenomorph-like alien and this pretty cool guy both from Loot Studios, and an idea started forming in my mind. An idea about innovation, about experimentation and improvement through iteration. An idea that, in a way, might relate directly to my current mindset. An idea that required an entirely different mini. Now, ever since I started printing and painting miniatures, I've been mostly working with models in 32mm scale. I think it strikes a nice balance where I can use the minis for D&D or other games, while giving me a slightly bigger canvas for painting compared to 28mm scale. But the truth is, I never use my minis for playing. I simply never get the chance for it. And this channel made me fall in love with dioramas and scenic bases, which aren't really constrained to any specific scale. So this month it's all going to be about experimentation. I'll write something completely disconnected from previous ideas and paint a bigger model to try and find the perfect miniature scale for me. I ended up going with the bigger version of this half alien guy, which is around 58 to 60mm scale, almost twice as big as my usual scale. If you're interested in seeing me explore other scales and miniature styles, let me know in the comments below. I used corkboard to create the base for the terrain, adding this alien egg for story reasons, and used sand and tiny rocks to add texture. I made sure to add the model before the final textures, mostly to make sure it can sit flush in the base. Aside from that, I'm hoping any sand or dirt that might fall in the model's boots will actually help blend my character with the surrounding terrain. And you know what? I just lied to you all. Those alien eggs that will bring more to the story, I just liked them and had no clue about how they would impact the story at the time I glued them in. But that's what this is all about, experimenting, improvising. We don't always know what we are doing or where we are going with every single detail, but what matters the most is experimenting, learning, and above everything else, enjoying what we do. And speaking of experimenting, I also used a new material for my base. Twine, which I used to make tiny thin roots, and while creating different shapes and thicknesses and getting my hands covered in superglue in the process, I realized that this is an alien planet, so why not add some alien flowers to it as well? So, by pulling apart the individual threads in one of the roots, I created this shape that could act as a really nice flower or something like it. And with the base finished, it's finally time to begin painting. And keeping with the theme of improvisation and inspiration, I decided to write the story for this video in a slightly different format, taking reference from the amazing Walking with Dinosaurs. So, without further ado, it's time for narrator Daydam to tell us the tale of Specimen OS-145. On the rocky plains of the Oryx-5 main continental mass, survival can be challenging. While the predator population is much lower than in some of the surrounding islands, it is the land itself, with its low vegetation and high temperatures, that makes the task of remaining alive particularly difficult for animals in an already hostile environment. Despite the adverse conditions, Specimen OS-145, conveniently named Osias, roams across the land, looking for something that he knows would be much easier to find in the dense forest near the shore and islands. An egg. An osteoclaw egg, to be precise. These fascinating yet terrifying creatures have adapted wonderfully to the diverse conditions and challenges Oryx-5 presents. Their sharp spikes and claws allow both for swift attacks and dangerous defense, making them fierce inhabitants of even the most hostile environments, like the shores where the mighty Argent likes to hunt. Not only this, but they keep their population controlled by reducing the amount of eggs they lay during harsh seasons or in inadequate biomes. Osias will have a hard time finding an egg here. Our protagonist, however, has been wise in his decision. The plains offer an even, open field to scout ahead for potential danger, giving Ozias more time to prepare to fight or hide. The bigger, more dangerous predators are less common in this area as well, instead favoring the more fertile grounds of the forest, which attract more of their prey. But the main reason for choosing this site for his assignment has been, without a doubt, his latest update. While his new spikes, inherited from our revised Osteoclaw formula, offer the incredible defensive capabilities of the species, Ozias still hasn't learned how to properly control his new right arm. The added weight of the recently formed muscles and claws makes his movements slow and clumsy, deeming him inappropriate for survival in an area heavily inhabited by predators, despite his high defense. To compensate for his disadvantage, Ozias carries a coiled pistol, of course not powerful enough to bring down an Osteoclaw, but still fully capable of slowing one down or taking out minor predators. Ozias is certainly a fascinating case in our investigation. While still not fully capable, he is the first in what could be defined as a new species. Of course, there have been previous specimens, but OS-145 is the first viable one. After 144 attempts, what we see on the surface of Oryx-5 is the first living hybrid between humans and what, to our knowledge, is one of the most resilient species in the galaxy. It is for all of these reasons that Ozias now makes his way across the rocks, looking for an egg. His next update depends on it. Maybe by studying the hatchlings we can get a better understanding of the creature's instincts, even creating a new formula to teach the brain how to control the mutated arm much more quickly. Of course, much like survival on Oryx-5, the success of this experiment is not assured. Even if Ozias manages to retrieve an Osteoclaw egg, the new formula might cause unexpected changes or even the death of our wonderful specimen. And while sad, it is part of the process. Evolution, after all, is nothing but iteration, experimentation, occasional improvisation, and eventually, perfection. Thank you so much for watching! Though I started working on this video without a fully defined idea of what to do, I'm super happy with what came out of it, both regarding the mini and the story itself. It allowed me to explore new concepts, techniques, ideas, colors and more, and it taught me a lot. Plus, I really liked working on this slightly bigger scale. As always, if you liked the video, please leave a like and subscribe for more. I'll be back next month with more minis to paint and more stories to tell. Take care, and thanks for watching.